Hey everyone, hope you're having a great Monday. I just wanted to stop in today and just say thank you for following me through the journey. This is, the third video, and I'm thankful for everybody that continues to follow and to share. I do look forward though to starting to see comments just about your journey. Maybe something that you're personally facing and need prayer for, or something that God has helped you through, just to be able to encourage someone else. So I want us to be in this together, not just a me type thing. I want it to be about us. And so I hope that we can all come together collectively and help each other and be a voice for people that don't necessarily know that they can have a voice, because I think that people that deal with depression and especially suicidal thoughts aren't usually very vocal. Usually they're very quiet about what they're facing, because to be honest with you, for me, for many years, it was a sign of weakness. And so I didn't want people to see that. So most people closest to me didn't even know half of my story or half of what I was facing. So if it's somebody, though, that maybe you've never even faced it, and thank goodness, that's great. But I guarantee you there's somebody close to you that is. And so this, by sticking with us, praying for us, but being there and listening and reading comments, things like that, can maybe also help you to help someone else. So anyway, thank you. And I appreciate all of you. And I hope that through this journey, we can all continue helping each other. I wanted to just share with you a little bit, just to give you a little history about me, because I do want you to understand kind of my story and where I've come from and what I have faced, in hopes that maybe it will help you, or maybe help you to become familiar with me so that you may open up a little bit more. But growing up, I was adopted by my grandparents, and my birth mom, she was only 15 when she had me, and I felt very rejected by her, and I felt like she didn't want me. And so there was a root inside of me of rejection, and that kind of festered and got bigger as I got older, because obviously, as you become a teenager, you deal with a lot more rejection, just with everything in life, relationships, sports, school, whatever. I mean, we face rejection every single day. That doesn't stop when you turn 18. That continues every day. It's a matter of how you look at that rejection. But that was kind of my root for the depression, I think, now that I look back. But when I was 13, I had a trigger, and that trigger, I believe, is what triggered me into the suicide thoughts and things like that. So I was in a car wreck, and the guy died that was driving, and I almost died, but I didn't. I was angry with God because I didn't know why he didn't take me instead. Why did he leave me there? I didn't have any value, so I didn't understand. I didn't know why he left me there. And through that, I started scratching and cutting, and eventually that turned into trying to OD, and just different things. And I don't know, I don't really know how many years off and on. I know that lasted until I was probably, to a degree, probably about 23 years old, probably. Maybe a little bit older, but I was married, had kids, great life, everything was good, but there was still something going on the inside of me. And I don't know if anybody's ever faced this, but I remember I would just be driving down the road by myself, and I would just try to think about how fast I could go, hit the tree, or run off the bridge and die, because I didn't want to feel the pain. I just wanted to just be done And that was after having children. And I loved my kids, which was probably the main reason why I never acted upon that, was my children. But my grandmother that raised me passed away, and that was another trigger, and that was really hard for me. That was so, I don't even know how to explain it other than I felt this huge hole inside of me, this hole inside of my heart, this void, and I felt like my whole world just shattered. And I went to a doctor, and they gave me some medicine, and I had to try different kinds of medicine, and nothing worked. And finally I told my husband, I said, we need to go to church. We've got to try something. And so we did, and God saved us. And the Lord at that point began to heal me, and this amazing process of change began to take place in my life. And one day I had a friend invite me to a youth camp, and in that youth camp, the preacher did a call and said the Lord had said that somebody here was facing depression and suicide, and my friend didn't even know. And I just looked at her and I was like, I think he's talking about me. And I'm pretty sure she was shocked, because that's one thing I did not do. I did not share anything like that. I don't even know how much my husband truly knew of, how severe it was. So I went up to the altar, and they prayed for me, and these teenage girls began to pray with me, and the Lord just took that suicide spirit from me, and it was the most amazing thing I had ever experienced at that point in my life. And I felt it leave me. From there, though, there was a healing that had to take place, and that was a process, and the Lord did that. He healed me. He healed my relationship with my mom, my birth mom, and we had this amazing time together where we were able to just heal together, because while I was feeling all of the rejection and, the pain from that, she was suffering things too, because, she had to make such a hard choice. At 15 years old, she had to make a choice to not be selfish and to allow me to be, raised by the two people she trusted the most in the whole world. And I didn't see it that way growing up, but, God allowed me to see it through different lenses. And so God healed and mended that relationship, and we were able to really heal and, I guess, catch up on our lives together. And she passed away a few years later, and it was hard for me to see that, but I was so thankful for that opportunity that God had given us. And so then my grandfather passed away. My dad that raised me, he passed away 3 years later. And it was just, looking at death through, the lenses of God versus the lenses of myself was completely night and day. Through the lenses of God, I saw life. I saw the beauty. I saw hope. I saw peace. And I saw all these amazing things that, when I saw it with my grandmother, my mom, I only saw the negative. I only saw death, and I only saw, hurt and anger. And so I just couldn't imagine facing things in this life without God right by my side. And so anyway, God began to show me something, and this morning in prayer, I just want to share with you. There's this book in the Bible. It's called Ruth, and if you've never read it, I encourage you to read it. It is an awesome book, but it's been one of my favorites. I've ministered it so many times, and I've always loved it because of Ruth's commitment. And but God showed me a different side of it this morning, and so I was kind of blown away a little bit. And so many of you Bible scholars, you probably already know this, but for me it was a waha moment, and I'm thankful that God gave me that this morning. But in the story of Ruth, Naomi was the mother, and she had a husband and 2 sons, and both sons were married. And Ruth was one of the daughters, and our daughter-in-laws. And so in the story, though, the husband and the 2 sons died, and Ruth. But Naomi was telling them, is Ruth chapter 1 verse 11. It says, "But Naomi says, 'Return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me?'" You know, your first sign of people with depression is they begin pushing people away. They begin isolating themselves from people. If you want to know what it looks like, if you want to know how to tell if somebody is facing it, follow them, not stalk them, but follow them. You know, pay attention to them. If you know that they used to always want to go do something and now they would rather stay home. If you know they used to want to be the center, of a group and now they're standing in the back. That's some of the symptoms. That's something that you can see. But she goes on to say down in verse 13, she says, "It is more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has gone out against me." She's hurt. She's devastated. She feels like God has just abandoned her, that God is against her because he's taken her most prized things, her husband and her 2 sons. And so with that, she is depressed, and she has got some triggers happening. And so I just never really seen it from that perspective. So now I'm looking at Ruth, that never left Naomi. The other daughter-in-law left, and she went back home. Ruth never left Naomi. She moved back to Naomi's hometown with her. So she was like a foreigner in, a land that she didn't even know. And she's out like going behind the people in the fields and, picking up the leftovers to take home to Naomi. So now she's become Naomi's lifeline, for even food. And through that, it was like Ruth was no longer just a daughter-in-law to Naomi. She was her friend. She was her sister in Christ. She was, right there with her. I could just imagine Ruth, being that quiet friend, that one that says, no matter what you're going through, we don't have to talk about it today, but I want you to know I'm here for you. And I'm going to tell you, if you've got those Ruth's friends in your life, hold on to them. Don't push them away, because you're going to need them. Them are good friends, and they're hard to find. But through the story, it showed me that the symptoms all the way back in the Bible day were very real, and the triggers were very real. And so I just, when this new time came into my life, like within the last year, and God revealed to me just recently that I am battling kind of a different level, but a different way of depression. It looks different. It feels different. My life is different. I think that's why it tricked me, because I wasn't expecting it to look and feel this way. And so, I believe that depression has many different looks. I believe it has different roots. I believe that it also has different triggers. I think that a lot of times people, they do the things that they do because they're trying to avoid feeling something. I think that a lot of people do drugs and alcohol because they're trying to avoid feeling something or having to face something. People that are the strongest, or what we think is we look at as the strongest people, are probably some of the ones that are less likely to talk about it. Therefore, it builds and becomes stronger and stronger, and begins to just take hold and control of their life. But I don't know what, what this is, where we're going, and how your story is right now, and how you've come through, or what you're walking in the midst of. But I will tell you this. At the end of the book of Ruth, Naomi, God replenished her. Ruth was able to marry Boaz, which was a king, and Ruth had a baby boy, and Naomi got to hold that baby so tight. And it just shows me that no matter what I feel like has been taken away from me, God will completely restore you. And it may not look exactly the same, and you may not, the feelings of the hurt don't go away. If people try to tell you tomorrow's a better day or give it time and it'll feel better, don't be mad at them, because I think they just don't, necessarily know what to say. But, it's frustrating, and I get that. But tomorrow is a new day. And, we just have to trust and stand firm on the Word of God to know that, He's going to give us greater. He doesn't take away to not restore even greater. You think about Job. If you've never read the book of Job, man, he went through it. He lost everything. He endured everything. Sickness. I mean, he is like he is like the Mac Daddy of it all. And you name it, he went through it, and at the end God gave him even greater. And so I don't know what it is that you're facing. I know that we are living in a day and time that we need a people that is willing to speak up. We need a people that is willing to share their story. Because guys, I'm telling you, you are not exempt because you're a man. You're not exempt because you're a woman. You are not exempt because you are an elder or that you are a child. Everything that we go through, you make the decision how it's going to impact your life. And unfortunately, there are just times where we become so overwhelmed by the hand that we are dealt that depression takes a very, very strong turn in our life and can consume us completely. And we need each other. Our kids need us. Our young people, they need to know that they don't have to live with rejection. They don't have to live with fear and failures, that they are valuable and that they matter, and that what they are feeling, it is okay to talk about. It doesn't matter if you're strong. It is okay to talk about your weakness, because for me, I think that the more you're open about your weaknesses to me, it makes you even stronger. And so I don't know where we'll go next week. God's been doing a great and mighty work in my life. It has been a great week. God has revealed to me this week that He is definitely there, and He is still working on me. And there is a process that is moving and shaking in my life, and I am excited. And I just know that I am going to make it through this, and even greater things are in store. And I know that if He does it for me, He'll do it for you. And I just thank you for sticking with me. Sorry this video is so long, and sorry if I bored you, but I thank each and every one of you. I love you guys, and I'm praying for you, and I know in my heart that God is going to get you through whatever it is that you're facing. Thank you, and God bless you.